Hi, everybody. Today I'd like to talk about the general elections coming up in Canada this fall. Now, I know that, of course, in America, this doesn't get a whole lot of coverage, but I thought it would be very interesting maybe to hear a little bit about what the candidates are up to and just to see sort of the difference between Canadian and American politics. So, of course, there's going to be the old legacy parties, the conservatives, the liberals, the obligatory Socialist Party, but I have no interest in covering them because they are, same old business as usual. Who I am interested in covering is the new party, the People's Party of Canada, the PPC. Now, I know that sounds like a super communist name, like People's Party, like, can you say Mao? But in any case, the leader of that party is actually himself considered to be a libertarian or a conservative, so it's not a communist party, but I think it's very stealthy trolling because the commies might think it is and accidentally vote for him because we know how smart they are. Anyways, so the leader of this party was originally in the Conservative Party under the old Prime Minister Stephen Harper and under the opposition Conservative Party while Trudeau is in power. He was in the Conservative Party as the opposition. Now, I'm going to tell you some of the positions that he held in the previous government because he's not really new to the scene, but he did have many ministerial roles. So I'll tell you I'll sum up what he did prior to starting this new party. Minister of Industry, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister of State for Small Business and Tourism, which then became Minister for State, Small Business and Tourism and Agriculture. And this was all under the Prime Minister Harper's government in the Conservatives. Then he also served in the shadow cabinet for innovation, science, and economic development under the chap who won the current conservative leadership race, which was Andrew Scheer. So the two of them were running up against each other, and he lost 49 to 51. So it was very, very close. He almost won it. So you can see that he is fairly popular. And he's doing pretty good in the polls. He has a chance, but we'll see. Now, who this Andrew Scheer guy is, I don't know a whole lot about him, mostly because I didn't do too much research, but what I do see about him in the news, I thought that he was going to be a good candidate because he's young and, has a family, and he, presented himself as a kind of a man of faith, but I don't really buy that facade anymore. In any case, let's talk a little bit about the leader of the new party. His name is Maxime Bernier. He's a French Canadian. He is an honorable MP in the Quebec riding. I don't know how to pronounce it, so I'm not going to try. I think it's like Bruce or something like that. I don't know. And so let's hear a little bit about what he has to say. He's made many appearances. He's actually been on the Ruben Report if you want to watch that. But he does go on a lot of mainstream news. He has his own YouTube channel. This is going to be a snippet from the public broadcast service called TVO. So let's see what he has to say here. And this is going to be about diversity. Now, we all know that diversity is our strength. So let's see if Mr. Bernier agrees.
Say that current Liberal government has created a cult of diversity that will destroy the country. I want to know more about what that means.
I'll give you an example. Justin Trudeau is always saying, diversity is our strength. And that's not the case. It's what unites us. It's our strength. That's the case. You build a country with people who share the same values. So diversity of values, I don't like that. And some journalists said, Maxime is against racial diversity. That's not true. I never said that. People who don't believe in our values, I think that they must not come in our country. It's Western civilization values. And we were able to have a lot of people coming from different countries for the last 60 years. So they're welcome, but they must share our values. So I like diversity. I want people to come in to tolerate diversity. As you know, they know that men and women are equal before the law, and all these Western civilization values.
But you mentioned some European countries that you think have gone too far in the wrong direction. So take us 10, 20 years down the road. If we keep going the way we're going, what do you worry Canada will look like?
I'm worried that the integration won't be at the best, and we can have ghettos, like I said. So let's have that discussion right now. And people are saying, Maxime, we don't have a problem. People are integrating our country very well. I said, yes, but I don't want us to have a problem in 20 years from now, and just have that discussion.
Okay, I think that he makes a very valid point. There is nothing worse than a divided nation or a divided culture or society. So look, is diversity a strength? Well, it's a strength if you value it as a strength. Diversity in its purest form is finding the differences between people. It's a way to divide people up based on their unique characteristics. Well, what would be a better strength? And it's something he pointed out. To unify people based on common characteristics. There is absolutely nothing wrong with being a multi-ethnic, multinational, multiracial, multi-religious country. We live in a pluralist society already. Most Western countries, I think all Western countries, do permit people to be different. That's great, fine, absolutely nothing wrong with that. But you must have a unifying culture. You must have unified values and principles. You really do have to be as one. You can be different. You can have different opinions. One person may, believe in one thing, another could believe in another thing, but it's as he said, so long as we agree that we're equal before the law, so long as we understand that we can't discriminate people based on certain characteristics, so long as we give people a fair chance. That's all, really. You can be as different as you want to be, but the culture itself must be unified. So, for example, when I'm traveling in other places, I see a whole sea of different faces, but they speak the same language. They have a certain customs and traditions that they all keep. Even though you can have various ones of your own, there are basic ones that people share in common. And that is good. That is what you want. That is a healthy society. Consider it like a family. A country is just an extension of a family. So in your household, you're unified by you share the same name, you share the same DNA, blah, 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 all the rest of it. But one might like music, one might like, science, one might like none of the above, one might be sporty, one might whatever. Everyone is different. Great, that's wonderful because it takes many types of people to make up a culture. How does, economics work? We need to specialize in different things. We don't all just make one thing, right? So that's completely fine, and it's definitely preferred if people are a little bit different because you get bored of things being the same. And even in very homogenous countries, people are different as well. If everyone is, for example, 99% the same ethnic makeup, they're still going to have differences in opinions and beliefs and attitudes. So there is diversity naturally. But what makes a strong and prosperous society is the unity, the unification of a people. When we can put our differences aside and find that which we have in common. Why do we have friends, right? We have friends because we have things in common. We find the same things funny. We like to do similar activities. Of course, there will not be 100% overlap, but that's fine. So I think that he's spot on when he says, if you don't share the same values, then we can't share a same home. How can you feel safe and comfortable around other people when you don't even believe in the same principles of the law, when you don't believe in the same principles of morality and ethics, when you think it's okay to do honor killings, whereas we say, no, that's not okay and it's not even legal. You can't have moral relativism in a society. You cannot have favoritism of one group or another group. You can't have rules for me but not for thee. You cannot do that. That is why diversity is not a strength. It is actually divisive and destructive. So the only strength is harmony, unity, fellowship, love for one another, to love your neighbor. You cannot live in a place where people don't like each other because they know that we share fundamentally different values. That's not going to leave a good impression on people, and it's not a cohesive society that anyone would want to live in. Now consider other countries, not Western countries. Do you see them promoting diversity? No. And why not? For example, if you were to go on a holiday to maybe Dubai, or, well, maybe not Dubai, but like any Middle Eastern country, I've had friends who went to Turkey or other places. They had to cover their hair. The women would have to cover their hair, whether it's loosely, you don't have to go full hijab or burqa, but you have to show the respect that women here cover their hair. Okay, if you, my teachers, when I was in high school, used to teach in Africa, and they said if a woman wore a skirt that was at her knee length, she would be considered like a prostitute. It's not all right for women to be exposed, right? So they wear longer skirts, not for any religious reason particularly. It's just a cultural custom that they don't do that, right? There's all sorts of practices and customs and traditions and cultural influences that each nation has. You must respect those. Same thing with Canada, same thing with America. There's certain things that we do, and any newcomer must understand that, just as we would understand that going to another place, whether it be as a tourist or to immigrate to that place. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with wanting to maintain some boundaries, and outside of those boundaries, you are free to do as you wish, as you should be. So again, I think that he is spot on saying this message. He has many other great clips that if you'd like to watch, I can leave some links for you in the description box so you can have a look at some of his other interviews. He's also done an interview on the Ruben Report. He has his own YouTube channel, and he does make lots of TV appearances, albeit they are in Canada. I'm not sure that he's been on any American broadcasting, but anyways, if you find some, please let me know. So if you're looking for someone to vote for as a Canadian in this coming election, I don't think any of them are going to change anything, but he seems to be the only one who is committed to doing things differently. I will leave the link to this full interview in the description as well, along with some other tidbits about him. But again, I think if you're looking for change, if you want something different, if you want someone who's going to fight for your corner, and I don't mean your special corner, for all people. That's why he, I guess, calls himself the People's Party. It's not about playing favorites. It's not about taking money from some people and then doing what they want and ignoring the rest of the country. That is ultimately what he is fighting against, and I think that's great because no one actually says that. And if they say it, they certainly don't do it. And we've seen that he is committed to it by resigning from the Conservative Party and starting his own party, because he sees that the other guy is not really interested in doing what Canadians want. So let me just actually show you a quick little retort that he said about the leader of the Conservative Party and how he basically called out his hypocrisy. So let's just have a quick little look at that. And sorry, I may have to adjust the time slot of it. I might have it out of queue, but let's just have a little look.
Your frustration, we are the solution, the PPC. The PC, not the Conservative at the federal level. I'm always speaking about the Conservative Party of Ottawa. But first of all, they're not Conservative anymore. And I didn't say that. Andrew Scheer said it. Andrew Scheer said, you know, the new Conservative Party of Canada, under my leadership, is now a centrist, pragmatic, political party with a lot of ideas for a lot of people. Translation. I don't have any ideas. I don't have any vision. I don't know what I believe in. I will do everything to have your vote. I will tell you what you want to hear. And maybe I will do it if I'm elected. So no principle, a centrist political party, that's the new Conservative Party of Canada. And what Andrew Scheer wants to do, he wants to split the vote. Yes, split the vote. He wants to split the Liberal votes. And he's going far left, from the right to the middle, centrist, and now more a little bit to the left, to be sure to be elected. And he's not speaking with his conviction. He's not speaking based on principle.
So there you go. You heard it here. I'll give you the quote, what he said. He paraphrased it actually very accurately. That is almost exactly what he said. So I'll just give you the quote. And this is Andrew Scheer saying this, the leader of the Conservative Party. Quote, Conservative Party, wink, wink. We have an opportunity to say that we are a pragmatic centrist party with room for lots of different views on lots of different issues. End quote. Does that sound like something a conservative would say? No. So this is what the old Prime Minister Harper said, and he actually said this on the Ben Shapiro show, so there you have it. He said this, and I quote, "Often you will see the same things happen in Canada. I'm a pragmatist, I'm a centrist. And of course, coming from the mouth of a conservative often means that they are actually left of center, but somehow want to be in the Conservative Party." End quote. Again, he is the only guy, Maxime Bernier is the only guy right now who is keeping to his word. He is not making promises that he doesn't intend to keep. He is very vocal about what he does and does not want. And the people are liking it because they're sick of being, lied to and played around with. So, as I said, there's many options, but ultimately there's really only one guy who's going to do anything about anything. What he said about vote splitting is a very real issue. Why is it an issue? Well, because people honestly think, just like they think in the American elections, oh, if I don't vote for the Democrats, then the Republicans will win. And if I don't vote Republican, then the Democrats will win. And the third party never gets a chance. The independents don't get a chance. Nobody gets a chance. Well, if you keep thinking that way and keep voting that way, that will certainly happen. So ultimately what needs to happen is, look, we don't like you and we don't like you either, but we like this guy. So just vote for that guy. And if enough people vote for him, he will win and you will prove yourself wrong. You don't have to split the vote. That's why the Conservative Party is, I think, making that shift to center-left, even though it's supposed to be center-right, so they're not even right-wing to begin with, and they never really were. But anyway, if they can appeal to the centrists and the slightly left-of-center vote, then they will take away from the Liberal vote and get more on their vote. But, and this is a big but, you are taking a gamble. You're playing like the odds. You're playing kind of a slot machine. What you really should do is just vote with your convictions. If you have any, that is. If you have a principle and you want certain things to be enacted, which, most of the things he says I agree with. There are some things I don't maybe know what his position is or what have you, but most things he says I do agree with. So just vote for the guy that you agree with, that you like, that you feel is going to be able to fight it out. He wanted to get rid of the food cartel industry that they have, that they price fix food, and the Canadians are paying double for dairy, milk, poultry, cheese, that kind of thing, eggs. And he literally got booed by his colleagues in the cabinet, but he kept going. Like, that's his position. I don't want to give corporate welfare handouts. Why should they? They're a company. You sink or swim on your own, not by the taxpayer's subsidy. People need help. Companies, sorry, but that's the cost of doing business, right? And he's coming from the private sector. He knows full well the way that he could manipulate public policy to benefit private business, and he's not doing that. So again, you have to ask yourself, do a little bit more research, but just ask yourself, is there someone who is trying to represent me? Yes, then don't play the vote splitting game. Don't play the identity politics game. Just be honest with yourself and get the vote out. Whether you think your vote makes a difference or not, look, they clearly think it does if they're making you do it. If they didn't, then they would just select who they select. Okay, so on some level, you can be paranoid, or you could just be realistic and participate in your civic duty. It's also not enough for you to vote. I think if you want this guy to win, you need to convince other people to vote for him or his party members in their riding. So, other people are very good at community organizing. They're very good, the activists and the radicals. They're very, very good at getting attention and swaying people and bullying them even into the vote. You don't need to do that. Just let the facts speak for themselves, and just, if you have any, ties to your community, or if you just want to sit out there on a lawn chair with a little poster, then do that. Get some attention and talk to people, because I think you'd be surprised at either people haven't heard of him, or they don't really know what he stands for, or they've heard editorials on him and not him. If you listen to the guy, he sounds and presents like a decent person. So, like I said, if you're looking for someone to vote for, that is who I think is the best choice this fall. So I hope that helps, and I hope you have learned something. I know that I certainly have, because I didn't know much about him before, but I'm really glad that I've taken the time to learn a little bit more about Maxime Bernier. Right, okay, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.